Hello everybody in YouTube land, Steve the Drummer here today, and I wanted to talk to you. I wanted to give you a product review on something that has happened here recently. And the product review that I'm going to talk about, I'm going to talk about ATV cymbals, in particular the hi-hat and a crash cymbal, and but specifically the product review that I'm giving today is on customer service and on their customer service. So I don't know if you guys have been following my videos very in-depthly, but I did a three-part series comparing Roland drums versus ATV drums, and part one was shells versus pads, and part two was the cymbals, and part three was stands versus racks, and I'll put links to those three videos in the description below. But so when I did the cymbals video, at the time I had a 16-inch ATV crash cymbal. I believe it's an AD16. I'm probably going to get these product numbers wrong because I don't have my notes in front of me, but I'll try to leave details about that, better details about that in the description. But nonetheless, I had a 16-inch crash cymbal, and I had it for approximately a year, and probably a little bit short of a year, I started to develop a problem with that cymbal, and that was that whenever I struck the cymbal, it triggered fine, but whenever I went to choke the cymbal, it didn't actually choke. Actually, my fingers touching the cymbal registered another crash, you got like the full-on crash, and then when I went to choke it, it got like it made sounds like it was trying to trigger again. So I've got a Roland kit, I've got an ATV kit, I've got a lot of different pads, and I was able to kind of switch things around. And while that was an inconvenience, it wasn't the end of the world. But the problem actually got worse. So what happened was, I think what was going on here was some kind of short within the internal wiring, and I'm not a very technical guy, but that's best I can tell, I think that's what happened. I think my hi-hat developed exactly the same problem, but much, much worse. And so whenever I played my hi-hat, whenever I struck the hi-hat, the note almost choked immediately. It was almost like I was playing my hi-hat like this and actually choking my hi-hat with my fingers. And that's, honestly, hat, kick, and snare, that's the most important part of the kit. And so when that started malfunctioning, that was a huge, huge, huge problem. So what happened? Well, I purchased all my ATV products from Eric Ham at eDrum Center, and I had started researching local options to, I'm in here in North Carolina, I started researching local options to try to get my equipment repaired. And I was talking to Eric Ham on the phone, and he said, let me contact ATV and see what they say. Now, and so he did, and then Scott Hunter from ATV contacted, I sent a message to him describing the problem, and he sent a message back and he asked what module was I using, and he gave me an address to send my stuff to in California. So I boxed up all my stuff. I boxed up my hi-hat, I boxed up my crash cymbal, and shipped it off to California one bright sunny Monday morning. And so the whole email back and forth and discussing it, that took a couple of days. Let's call that maybe 3 days of back and forth between the two of us. On the Monday, like I say, I shipped my products out there, and FedEx said to expect about 4 to 5 days for delivery. I just used standard ground. And so I contacted Scott Hunter and let him know that the products were on the way, and then I contacted him again the next week just to verify that he'd actually received the products, and he emailed very promptly back that he had, and that he didn't know anything yet, but the products were going to be tested and he would let me know. So this is approximately Monday or Tuesday of the following week, and then within like a day or two of that, he actually called me, and I missed the call the first time. My phone was in airplane mode, and so I missed the call. But when I turned my phone back on and saw the strange number and listened to the voicemail, I called him back immediately. He answered the phone. We talked for a couple of minutes, and he said that the hi-hats absolutely were shot, and no questions asked, they were going to replace that. And he said that the one thing though about the crash cymbal was they could not duplicate the problem that I was having. And he suggested that maybe it was the module, or maybe it was a bad cord, or something along those lines. And I came back with, well, I use this module, and I use other pads, and I use the same module and the same chords, and the common denominator here is the cymbal, not the pads or the chords, so I don't think that's necessarily true. And he said, well, we can't duplicate it, but we'll just go ahead and replace that too. Now here's the point that I really, really want to make, and I know I've eaten up 5 minutes of time here to get to the point. Number one, when all this happened, technically my stuff was out of warranty. I purchased the drum set and received it late November, early December, and all this is going down in January, a year later, 13, 14 months after I received the product. So right out of the gate, I'm out of warranty. ATV, Scott Hunter, they could have said pound sand, man. You know, I'm sorry. You know, you had a 1-year warranty, and you're outside of your year. But they didn't. They asked me to ship the products out there. They took a look at them. Number two, the crash cymbal, they could not duplicate the problem. They could have told me to pound sand on that. You know, honestly, they didn't. I described the problem. They said they couldn't duplicate it. They pointed me in the direction of my module and my cords, and I said, well, I'm using different pads and not having the same problem without any resistance whatsoever. We'll replace it. That's good customer service. You know what? That's not good customer service. That's excellent customer service. They said, we'll get everything together and ship you a new product. And it took about, I don't know, maybe a day or two, and then they contacted me back to get shipping information, my address, to send me the symbols, and they did. They sent out replacement products. I've since received them. This is the new 16-inch crash cymbal. This is the new 14-inch hi-hats. In doing this, now I'm able to move my EFX 17 cymbal over here. And not in the shot, I've got, well actually it is kind of sort of in the shot, I've got my 18-inch crash over here, and then my Roland snare and my Roland digital ride cymbal and module. So my 5-piece now ATV / Roland drum set is complete with all the pieces. The point of the video, that was excellent service from ATV. Now there's a lot of speculation going on right now about ATV. There's a lot of internet rumors and talk, and so let's talk about that for a second. So let's talk about my perception of ATV as a whole, what's happened, what is happening, and what I think is going to happen in the future. So, you know, ATV, to the best of my knowledge, and I don't follow everything perfectly closely, and I'm not the most technical guy in the world, I think they went to one of the NAMM shows, I think it was the Winter NAMM show in 2019, and they introduced some new products, or some potential new products. And one of which was a new line of ATV drums that was going to be lacquer shells, not wraps. They were going to have a nice wood grain finish. They were larger sizes. I want to say it was more, instead of 10, 10, and 13, it was probably going to be more like 10, 12, and 14, and a 20-inch kick drum instead of an 18-inch kick drum. And so that was one of the products that was discussed, and it got a lot of buzz and a lot of hype, and a lot of people were really happy with that. And I think they also talked about maybe an iPad app that was going to control the module, and you were going to have iPad accessibility to do certain things with your sounds and whatnot. And once again, this is probably a little bit more technical and over my head. And then a year went by, and that stuff didn't happen. Those products have not been, to the best of my knowledge, released to the general public. And what else has happened? Well, Roland came out at this year's NAMM show, and they introduced their VAD line, and there's three different products, and I'm going to screw up the numbers, but I think there's like a 503 and a 503 and a 506 and a 303, and there's basically three different variations of a shell pack, very much so reminiscent of what ATV has done. And so, in addition to that, so you got the two NAMM shows, and then you've also got this whole product supply issue with ATV products in the United States. You know, basically almost all distributors are and have been out of stock on ATV products for a pretty good period of time. And then last but not least, you've got this new drum company called F-Note, and their products look mysteriously a lot like ATV drums. They just look a lot like ATV. So those are basically the things that have happened. And so there's all this speculation. Well, maybe ATV is going to go away. And that certainly happened with other companies, and it certainly, I guess, on some levels, it certainly could happen with ATV, but I certainly hope that's not the case. For one thing, they make great products. I've played my ATV drum set now for almost a year and a half, and I love it. It's an excellent drum set. I use it for practice at home. I use it to make drum cover videos, and I use it to gig with my band. And the products are good. They look good. They feel good. They hold up well. And the problem that I had with a couple of their products, even though they were out of warranty, and even though on 50% of it they couldn't duplicate the problem, no questions asked, they replaced it. That's excellent customer service. So what really changed here? In my estimation, and this is just my opinion, number one, this new FNO company probably hired some engineers to develop their product line, and probably some of those engineers came from Roland, but probably some of those engineers came from ATV as well. So they probably lost some of their talent, which has slowed down their ability to at least temporarily, to create new products. Number one. Now let's think back. Roland in like 2015 or 2016, and I know I'm getting my numbers and years and all that stuff confused. They introduced the TD50 line, I think it was 2016, and they showed it with a 22-inch kick drum, and everybody was like, wow, a full-size 22-inch kick drum. Well, it took them like a couple of years for that product to actually come to fruition, actually come to the marketplace. I want to say it was rolled out in like 2016, and then it really wasn't available until about 2019, about 3 years later. So issues like that, where they introduce a product or they show a product coming, and then it takes a year or 2 years or 3 years to actually hit the marketplace, that's happened in the past with other manufacturers too, including Roland. So I don't think that's necessarily a death sentence or a nail in the coffin as far as what's going on with ATV. Number two, honestly, so they rolled out some products, but then they haven't quite got them to the marketplace yet. And then the other thing is Roland came out and introduced a new product line, and their products are getting ready to hit the market. Well, if anything, that kind of shows the influence that ATV has had on the market. I mean, if you look at the new VAD drums, they look surprisingly similar to what ATV's done with the full-size shells and the stands and the 3-trigger system in the toms. It looks like, honestly, ATV has really influenced the market and influenced the customer to the point that they're kind of steering the market as to which way things are going to go. And then, lastly, like I say, this whole FNO company has come along, and at the end of the day, time will tell whose products last and whose products don't, and what stands the test of time. But honestly, to me, that really just looks like a big copycat. So my sincere hope is that ATV will endure, and that they will continue to develop the products that they have in the past, and really drive the market and be a big contender moving forward. And the last thing that I want to say, and I kind of skipped over this, and I kind of forgot about it. I'm not using any notes. I'm just kind of doing this off the cuff. The product supply issue. Really and truly, that is pretty much totally tariff driven. And I never want to include politics or anything like that in any of my YouTube videos. This is not a political channel by any stretch of the imagination. However, I will say this, and I'm not being political here. I'm just saying that the U.S. Perceives an unfair playing field as far as trade is concerned, and they've attempted to address that through tariffs, primarily against China. But they've basically gone back and tried to re-examine their trade agreements, and whether you agree with that or whether you don't agree with that, or whether you think that's a good idea or not, and that's completely it's a free country. You can think what you want, and I certainly do, and that's cool and all, but that does impact a company like ATV, especially ATV is kind of a smaller company, and they really don't have the opportunity to absorb any of those costs. Roland is a really large company. They make drums, but they also make keyboards, they make amps, they make tons of different products. They have a much more diverse product line to absorb any type of costs like that. Not to say that they're going to absorb all the costs, but they certainly have more flexibility than a smaller company like ATV does. So, and when I bought this 17-inch EFX cymbal from eDrum Center, and this tom from eDrum Center in December, I was told by Eric Ham at the time, this is the last stuff we have in stock, and we're not expecting to get any more ATV products probably until at least March. And so this was kind of a known thing. It wasn't necessarily known to the consumer because we didn't know to ask or to look. But if this was something that was forecast to happen, is what I'm trying to say. So anyhow, hats off to ATV. Great drums, great cymbals. Love the product, and thank you so much for the great customer service. Y'all have a great day. Thanks for watching.